Hey, welcome into another week edition of Unlocked with Fox's Brock Huard. I'm Lance Taylor from the next round. It is on Disrupt the Media. Like and subscribe. It's brought to you by MyBookie. They're giving 110% back. You put in $100, you get 110. Use that code next round and get that deposit match on your bonus. First deposit, mybookie.ag. How was it in Salt Lake?
It was fun. Yeah, it wasn't the nighttime Rice Eccles, and even the UCLA coaches, Tim Drevno, I've known a long time, the O-line coach, Chip, they said, Chip was pretty honest that when the schedule came out, they went, I like that. I like a 1:30 kick a whole lot better than a 7:00 kick because you give those folks all day to get ready, and that is a madhouse. It was still rocking, and they are still great fans. I'll stand by what I said to you last week as far as venues go west of the Rocky Mountains. Right now, it's harder to find a more hostile, difficult place to play, and it was a little baptism by fire for the young quarterback. Dante Moore, first play of the game, just run as simple a concept as you can. He doesn't see it; it's flying by him, and it's a pick six the other way. So it was a great scene. Always love making the trip to Salt Lake.
That Utah defense is, they
Salty.
are good. Yeah, really.
Salty.
And then you look offensively, we were waiting to see if Cam Rising was going to play. It looked like it was going to be a 50-50 game time decision, which it was. He came out in street clothes. You were there.
Yeah.
Defense is great. Nate Johnson has got a skill set. He just doesn't have the experience right now, and not a lot of ball security. Fumbled 3 times, lost 2 of those. I don't know if they can go into Corvallis without Cam Rising and win this game.
Yeah, he's got to play a lot better. And I'll just clarify one thing there for you, bud. He actually warmed up. He came out before like early warmups and a knee brace, and then he came out for warmups without the brace, but full uniform, and was taking reps and not really. Well, yeah, he was still taking reps with the ones too, and making it look. It was a good performance.
Did you think he was going to play?
I had reservation. I was pretty sure he wasn't, but there was still some hope and some thought that he may. And then when he watched him warm up, he was in full pads. And I don't know, during the game, was he in street clothes or was he in uniform?
He came out in street clothes.
He did come out in street clothes. Well, he put on a show. He put on an early show, and then he put the full pads on. He put on a show. It made the UCLA folks certainly think for a bit, like, wow, maybe he is going to be able to go. Maybe this is the week he's going to be cleared. So if Nate plays that game, they can't win in Corvallis. He's got to play much, much better. But then again, you also saw the experience of the third longest tenured head coach in college football say, I'm not here for stats. I'm not here to pretty it up. Even if my home fans will boo the product and we won't look good and we'll run, punt, run, punt. I know what it takes to win, and they're not going to score multiple touchdowns on me in the way my defense is playing against this freshman. So, I think the game will dictate how Kyle will call it and how he will manage it. But yes, Nate's got to play better than he did, certainly Saturday, this Friday in a hostile Corvallis as well.
Yeah, man, I can't wait to see that game. It's great defenses, good offensive lines. Quarterbacks.
What's the line on it now? What is it? What are we looking at right now?
Oregon State 2.5, which is about right.
That does feel right.
Yeah, I don't want to doubt Kyle Whittingham because that defense is going to travel. I don't think the moment will be too big for them. Maybe it is for Nate Johnson. Is there zero chance Cam Rising's playing this Friday, though?
Don't know. It truly is a week to week. Brant Keithy is also a very big deal. Cam gets the headlines, but Brant Keithy is an All-American caliber tight end. And the other tight ends are nowhere near that level. They've been so good at that position group here for a bunch of years that you're like, oh,
yeah, I don't even know if we hear about Dalton Kincaid if he doesn't go down last year.
That's right. I mean, Brant Keithy is a stud, and he is, unlike Cam, who tore it in January, Keithy tore it about 1 year ago, almost to the day in late September. So they need him. They need Vele to come all the way back. We'll see about the running back. That was a significant, I don't know if they're talking about him in the lower leg extremity as well. And so they are just, they are hit with an injury bug that is as nasty and bitten as violently as any injury bug that Kyle's ever seen, frankly, that I've ever seen in the month of September. And you stack all that up, that line starts to make some sense for the Beavers.
There is a assistant coach that is on a major hot seat right now, and the team's undefeated. It's in the top 5, and that is Alex Grinch at USC. Yeah. And for whatever reason, watching them in the Pac-12 championship game last year and against Tulane, it seemed like defenders were in position to make the tackles. They just couldn't make the tackles. It happened again Saturday night in Tempe. Look, they can get to the quarterback. I mean, USC right now has got 16 sacks. I think they're third nationally in that category. And now you're going against a Colorado line that is awful, that's given up 26 sacks, the most in college football. But USC, 10 penalties. The defense didn't tackle well. Let me start with asking you this question. Is it Alex Grinch's fault if his team can't tackle?
Yeah, that's why I question. You said he's on the hot seat. Are you sure he's on the hot seat? Because
I mean, I don't know. I mean,
Lincoln has been as loyal to him as anybody he's ever had. I mean,
and he's a good coach.
He is. He knows his X's and O's. And to your point, it's not as if you see just breakdown. One of my old teammates who works over there at the Pac-12 Network, a guy named Nigel Burton, in the opener, I thought said this pretty well. He said, the one thing I'd like Alex to do is just simplify. You got a lot of new pieces. You got some transfers. You got new linebackers, some new D linemen. Just simplify. Just trust your team's speed. Trust your athleticism. Do what Jim Knowles, frankly, is doing at Ohio State and Columbus, saying, gosh, I don't need all this scheme. Sometimes just let me, call it, let guys play and react and play faster. But that's not necessarily Alex's DNA. It's never been his DNA. He wants to have scheme. He wants to outcall that opponent. He wants to do what Morgan Scalley does seemingly every week at Utah, and that's blow up that offensive scheme by out scheming them. So I'm with you. Other than he's not to me on the hot seat because Lincoln has shown nothing but loyalty to him. But do his guys play fast enough? When I see guys miss that many tackles in the open field, to your point, when I see them there but not finishing, to me, my analyst mind goes, yeah, you're too clouded, right? You've got too much going through your head. You're just not simplifying see ball, hit ball, finish tackle, that there's other stuff going on. So, and Colorado will make you do that. Sean Lewis at home and his scheme, they're going to go up and down the field. I don't have any question that Shedeur Sanders and some of their team speed and playing at home is going to move the ball 20-20. Do they get sacked? Do they get the ball taken away? That will be the difference in how close that game is in Boulder.
You mentioned Jim Knowles and their defense shut down Notre Dame. I mean, it wasn't if you like offensive football, you didn't love the game, but a lot of drama came down to that final play. And as a former player, how upset are you with your coaching staff that you've only got 10 on the field in that situation?
Yeah, you're pretty disappointed because there's a bunch of channels there. There's people up in the booth. Right. Programs of this level, it's like the NFL. You got coaches upon coaches and eyes upon eyes. You don't have, 9 assistants. You don't have 4 volunteer dad coaches like my son Titus's 8th grade team. Like you got a lot of personnel, a lot of resources, a lot of eyes on it. So the channel and the chain of command, to miss it from upstairs, to miss it on the sidelines, to miss it with whomever is in charge of personnel on the sidelines, to make sure this group is on the field. For Marcus Freeman to not look out there and be able to see that as a former D coordinator. For the linebackers, for goodness sake, sitting right behind there, like where's the beef? Old Wendy's commercial, where's the beef? Where is it? Call timeout. Just make sure you've got that personnel on the field. That is a failure at a bunch of levels there. That's very, very hard to swallow.
Yeah, I can't believe. And Marcus Freeman said, "Hey, we were out of timeouts. I couldn't take the penalty. Why not? It's just a foot. Like, do you give up 10 players on 11?
Yes.
Or do you give up that foot? I mean, it just didn't make any sense to me.
No, that's a moment speeding up. That's an awfully big moment, as you said, an unbelievable drama, a script that I as I've gotten older, tend to appreciate. I kind of like some of the defense we're seeing. We're seeing teams like Utah play great defense, Ohio State play great defense. I got Michigan this week. They're giving up less than 6 points a game. That will change in conference play, but they're playing great team defense. I wouldn't mind at all if we see the pendulum swing as we always do in the cyclical nature of this game. You give me some defense instead of these 50 to 40, 48, 45, just, basketball on grass. I'm kind of glad we're seeing some spit and some blood and some sweat and some defense being played around the country.
Hey, look, we knew Ohio State was going to have a good defense just because of the caliber of player, but Mike Elko, what he's done at Duke, and now Notre Dame has to go from that emotional high where everybody was on that campus all week. They were getting hyped up. They had that game in hand, and they lose it on the last play to now you got to go to Durham where College Game Day is for the first time ever.
Yep.
And people don't realize, and I've brought this up a couple of times, like I said back in the summer, we were talking about games to watch out for, and I said Duke's going to beat Notre Dame at home. Now, whether or not that happens, we'll see. But people don't realize Duke was 9-4 last year. Their 4 losses by 1 possession, 3 of those by 3 or less points. Riley Leonard's only got 2 passing touchdowns. They're 4-0, but the defense has only given up 8.8 points per game.
Yeah,
That's a
take the under.
legitimate team.
Well, yeah, what's the over under on that one? I think I'm going to take the
Probably
under.
46,
Yeah,
mid
I
40s.
think I told you last week at Salt Lake, take that under. You could just feel those things brewing. Everything that you just said right there, more than likely. Elko, listen, Elko has been doing this a long time. I had him 10, 12 years ago at Wake Forest. I was like, man, this guy can flat out coach. I mean, to take the personnel that he's working with there from a height, weight, size, strength, speed, dynamic standpoint and do what he's doing against Clemson and Florida State and other teams, Virginia have so much more speed. That man could coach. He goes to A&M. He's on staff down there with my little brother. And I get more of the intel of like, this guy can really coach. And, just kind of waited for the right opportunity and got that opportunity. And, Cutcliffe was so good offensively, and Jim Knowles was with them there at Duke, and they won a bunch more games than their predecessors did, and they did it by being great X's and O's guys, knowing that chessboard and knowing how to put them in position for success. Elko does that defensively. You got a running quarterback. You're probably going to shorten that game a little bit, and yeah, that's going to be. I'd be shocked if that one swings too far one way or another. That one feels, buckle up, Notre Dame fans. That one feels like it's going to be finished in the final 5 minutes as well.
Yeah, as we sit here and we talk on Unlocked, I think it's become official that Mel Tucker is out at Michigan State. That's been going on the last few weeks. With that said, I mean, obviously it's Big Ten. It's a team that's played in a college football playoff. They can pay you a lot of money. If Mike Elko was offered that job, does he take it?
Yeah, I think the compelling piece of evidence you said right there at the jump, right? The Big Ten. Big Ten. You get a chance with a level playing field. Does Mike Elko feel now with a couple years under his belt as a head coach that enough time on task, learned, okay, I can bring this kind of staff, I can compete and recruit in this kind of way there? And does he have enough kind of that experience to go, yeah, this will be the right next step for me? Because assuredly, if he wants to get to playoffs and win national championships, it's going to be very, very hard to do at Duke. You get to the Big Ten, you get those monies, those resources, the chance to recruit and develop and coach the way that you can coach. You've got a chance to get into a 12-team playoff.
In the Pac-12, as good as the league is in its final season that we've talked about, 5 undefeateds, the conference that leads the top 25 and undefeated teams is the ACC with 6 right now. Where do you put Duke in that pecking order? I mean, Clemson played their asses off, but they end up losing on a missed 29-yard field goal in overtime. Great grab by Keon Coleman.
Yep.
But they gave everything. And I don't know how much more Clemson has. They're already 0-2 in the ACC. I would assume you've got Florida State at the top. I like this Miami team. I like the Duke team, but the ACC is deep. If you went 1 through 3 right now in the ACC.
Oh, boy. Yeah. Because of the caliber of wins and just the grit and the athleticism and the NFL dudes down in Tallahassee, you're probably putting them 1. This is, and I think I've said this to you, Lance, a few different times, be it with Sark or with Mario Cristobal. Like, I need to see an emotional maturity from a leadership and the whole team, right? I need to see that over 12 weeks. Can you sustain in that way from the very top down with everybody in the organization and lead that organization in that way? So I'd probably put Florida State 1. Gosh, I like the way Miami is playing, right? That A&M win at the time, you're like, well, maybe fire Jimbo, fire everybody, and A&M's bad. And then you're reminded, no, they're really not that bad.
Yeah. And that wasn't a fluke, I don't think. Watching Miami down 10 points in that game, their speed is crazy.
They are. And the one challenge for them is just a home environment. That Orange Bowl was such a man, it was, and I know it wasn't right in Coral Gables, but it was not Pro Player Stadium as far away as this one is on a train. And it had just kind of everything with the swag and everything. It was all about the U, right? I mean, that thing was just it was such a home field advantage. That's the hard part. That's the one element when you play off campus, as far as they do away from their epicenter. It makes it hard. But yeah, if I got to handicap those, I'd probably go gold, Florida State, silver to Miami, and then I've got to put Duke on the medal stand as well.
Fox's Brock Huard. It's Unlocked. It is brought to you by lanceslock.com. Jump on board with us again. Another big winning weekend. 15 units up from the weekend. You can go to lanceslock.com. We've got daily packages, weekly, monthly, annual packages. Jump on board. We will win for you at lanceslock.com. So in all the levels of football you've played, have you ever been in a game where either you guys scored 70 or 70 was laid on you?
Not college or professionally. No. Don't know if we'll ever see that again professionally.
I mean, my God, I
Wow.
cannot believe. I mean, 70 points is insane. And Miami, they bring Mike White in. I mean, they tried to call off the Dogs, and I mean, they couldn't stop scoring. And it is a complete disaster right now in Denver. We
Yes.
talked about this last week. You talked about how that market is just, they love their Denver Broncos. The credentialed media is more for Denver than any other NFL market out there. Where is everybody right now on Sean Payton?
I rate. Yeah. I mean, I rated the whole thing. I rated ownership. I rated the head coach. I rated everybody. I mean, this has been and was such a proud organization. Mark Schlereth, a good buddy of mine, lives in Denver and does a morning radio show. And you can just feel from those old Broncos, the Terrell Davises. And Denver's also market a little bit, Lance, like Atlanta or somewhat in Dallas. But I'd say Atlanta and Denver, from my life experience, where a lot of the former players stay there. They don't want to leave. Like, it's a good place to call home. It's got good schools. It's got good weather. It's got good environment. It's, they take care of some of their own in that way. And there's a lot of pride. And Schlereth has so much pride, and they've been and won Super Bowls, went to many Super Bowls, won a couple Super Bowls at the end of John's tenure in Elway. And to see where they've fallen since 2016, I mean, the numbers are staggering. The number of quarterbacks, the number of coaches, the number of coordinators, now a couple different owners. Like, it's been a total mess. Now, I mean, having said all that, they do get Chicago and the Jets. So
I know, I saw that.
If there is going to be a chance, if there is going to be any light at the end of the tunnel, if we know the way this NFL works, you can look as bad as that one week and you can turn it around the next week. So somebody, either Chicago or Denver, is going to have a season ender on Sunday, more than likely.
I just don't know what happened. The defense was good last year. There was a number that if they would have scored like 18 plus, they would have started out the season like 8-2. I forgot exactly what it was, but the defense was really good.
Yes.
The offense was bad. Now it's all bad. And what they've given up to get Russell Wilson, hoping it would go the route of Tom Brady or the route of Matthew Stafford, it hadn't worked out. And so you wonder the next 2 or 3 years, how behind the 8 ball is the entire organization?
Well, there's a couple details on that. Number one, Russell, if you just looked at the raw numbers, his numbers are almost exactly the same as Patrick Mahomes through 3 games. So that's where figures don't lie, liars figure, right? You could spin those numbers and look at them that way. But the reality is just his elevating everyone around him. What he did in front of my eyes in Seattle for so many years, the wizard getting out of plays, right? Just the magician to extend plays. That's no longer there. So he could still throw the deep ball, and his deep ball is as good as anybody in the game, but having the run game and the protection and the style of game to be able to do that consistently has not been there. And they're going to have to make a decision, Lance. The way this deal is structured is in March, when the new league year, a week before the new league year begins, they've got to make a decision on him, not just for 2024, but the way that he and his agent wrote it is it's a 2-year guaranteed commitment. So this is a good QB draft, depending on how off the rails this thing really does become. You are talking, and even, by the way, if you don't make that commitment and you move on, as you said, the amount of dead cap money is extraordinary for some years to come. So, yeah, not a real bright, shiny outlook in the old Rocky Mountains.
Any given Sunday, anyone can win. You played in the league. The Dallas Cowboys, though, they looked, at least, it was against New York, Giants and Jets, but a lot of people said, hey, look, this is the best team in the league. They roll in to play a Joshua Dobbs-led Arizona Cardinal team that I thought was going to tank for Caleb Williams. But how does this happen in this league where, like, I was so wrong. I had the Bears on Sunday. I hate to admit that. And they get completely walked off the field in Kansas City, and we'll get to a Kansas City aspect here in a little bit.
How could you have done that, Lance? Call me.
So stupid.
Call me before something like that. Some of them I can't help you with, and you're a genius and you're doing well. But
what would you have said on Dallas minus 11.5 in the desert against Arizona? I mean, first of all, what would you have said, and how does this happen? Is it getting complacent in a locker room and saying, dude, Josh Dobbs is starting a quarterback. We go through the motions. We win this game going away.
Well, I'll talk about the first one. Okay. Chicago was not going into Kansas City. That was ludicrous. I don't know what counsel you got on that. Was that Dunaway? It's probably somebody, one of your buddies.
It was 12.5 points. I thought they would keep it close. I thought Justin Fields had something to prove.
Desperation. Yeah. Wasn't buying that one. 11.5. I probably would have taken Arizona at 11.5. And I'll tell you why. Because Dallas lost their dude on the back end in practice.
Yeah.
And that hurts. That stings. Yeah, next man up. Oh, we'll wash it away. College football, you got 90 guys. Utah can weather some of it, right? You got walk-ons, good walk-ons. You got 100 guys. Next man up, you got next man up. They're getting pretty lean after next man and next man and next man and next man. But the way the NFL works, man, you lose one of your dudes and you lose Diggs, who is just such a if it's a two-headed monster, right? If it's Micah on the front and was Trayvon on the back, those two work like peanut butter and jelly. And it was just, oh, this is a tough meal to deal with. Well, you take one of them away, and in practice, no less, those things emotionally can sting. And I'm not going to say it's going to derail the season, but I'm also going to not say it didn't play a role. It may be some of where they were going into that game. And in Arizona, they could pick on that a little bit and all of a sudden put the pressure on the opponent. And all of a sudden, hey, we're not just hanging around. And remember, Arizona, the first 2 weeks, first halves, played great ball. I mean, what were they up? 28-0 on the freaking Giants at one point. So they'd shown that they could do some things. They couldn't finish. And Dallas just, unfortunately, I don't know why you also don't kick a field goal there late. Like, come on, like, kick a field goal earlier. Like, get points on the board down there. Keep all the pressure's on you. At least soften a little bit and try to put the pressure back on Arizona. They didn't get the fourth down. And yeah, so welcome to the NFL.
It's Fox's Brock Huard here on Unlock Disrupt the Media. Like and subscribe. It's brought to you by MyBookie. Make sure you put in that promo code next round, 110% back from our friends at mybookie.ag. 3 undefeated teams in the NFL. You've got one in the Miami Dolphins that just laid 70 on Denver. You've got San Francisco. You've got Philadelphia that looked like Philadelphia from last year. Finally, even with Jalen Hurts playing with the flu. To me, there's 3 undefeated. I think those are the 3 best teams in the NFL. Would you agree?
Right now, yes. We will turn the calendar to October on Sunday. I guess we play Thursday night, so we can't quite turn that calendar. But, those 3. San Francisco has done it at home. They've done it on the road. They've taken their opponents apart. As you said, Philadelphia finally played kind of the 4 quarters that we saw a lot of last year where they imposed their will on both sides of the ball. So, those 2, I think, pretty much head and shoulders above others in the NFC. And Miami is fun. For everything I said about, the college game, it's nice to see a level of defense. I would say inversely in the NFL, isn't this fun? I mean, it's fun to see just track star after track star after track star after track star with a Tua facilitating and slinging it all over the place, and an RPO game with a coach wearing joggers and vaping on the sideline. Like there's just a fun factor to the Dolphins.
That's what I was going to get to. Mike McDaniel. I mean, the dude is a complete nerd, but he looks like a gangster out there with his Armani shades, and he calls fits. A wicked game. He does. He fits Miami perfectly.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say 70 points without Jalen Waddle.
Yeah, they said this, and it still rings true. I think you and I, before the season began, and we'll play them all back maybe at the end of the year and look at some of our predictions. You and I both like Baltimore a lot. I would say there's still a learning curve they're climbing with their new offensive coordinator and Lamar, and learning what works and what doesn't work. But for so many years, I would see scouts with the Ravens because Ozzie Newsome just nailed it, right, Lance? Year after year. How do they do this? How do they draft? How does Ozzie do it? And I remember seeing one of their scouts one time, and he said, you know what? We call it just the Raven way. Like when we go on the road and we scout and we're on campuses and we watch these games, like that's a Raven. That dude's a Raven. Like that guy's a Raven. We have such a clear identity of who we are and what we are that we can identify those employees because, that's a Raven. Or you know what? That's not one of us. That doesn't fit. And right now, and I know it's early, but the playoff run last year and everything that you said about Mike McDaniel and the style and the flash, like, they're kind of building a little South Florida. Like this is what we are. The U did it for decades, right? They did it down there, and he's kind of building we got swag. And we're going to run by you, and we're going to attack you, and we're going to just draft the fastest dudes we can, and we're going to play at a speed and at a level, and you're going to have to come to our house in September or October in the humidity, and you're going to have to try to keep up with us, and that's real. Like Denver, I live here. It's beautiful. There's no humidity, though. You go down there in a track meet, and you're trying to run and run and run. You know what it reminds me of, Lance? Remember old Nolan Richardson's 40 Minutes of Hell?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you want to go sweat down in that Arkansas humidity? You want to run with us? And that's almost what they're saying. Like, hey, man, you want to come play with us? You want to run with us in this heat humidity? Now, the answer, and and I know, it's not September, October. You may march up a bunch of wins. What happens when you got to go run that track race, up in Buffalo or up in Boston or up in New York in November and December? You know, are you going to wear those old 80s leg socks? You know, it's going to be a little warm or a little cold. You're going to have to bundle up a little bit for what's to come. So that's that's a hurdle that they're going to have to overcome for sure.
Yeah, look, and I know the weather won't be that bad this weekend, but we'll get a little precursor with Miami going to Buffalo. Right now, Buffalo actually a 2.5-point favorite in that game. You know, even with the 70 points Brock scored last weekend, that wasn't the story. Sadly, or as ridiculous as it sounds, the story was in a suite in Arrowhead, and it was Taylor Swift. And we heard these rumblings that Travis Kelce had kind of floated it out there. She shows up at the game. The more I think about this, I think it is manufactured. I don't think this thing is real. I think the NFL, because I read today, there was an article out that numbers of women like 11 to 18 were up like 18% or something. It's like the NFL has somehow put this thing together. Let's bring T Swift in. We're going to bring in another demographic, and the numbers are going to continue to go up. Travis Kelce's jersey, you saw it plus 400% on the sales. Am I right or am I wrong? Is this a scam?
I'm trying to check out your hat right now. Did you put on the tinfoil? What did you just do for the last minute? What was that? Is that a conspiracy? What?
Yeah.
You think this is it? Lance, do you not know love? I mean, do you
I don't know if I believe in true love, to be honest with you. I don't think there's a true soulmate out there for somebody.
Oh, that's sad, Lance. That's so sad.
I think you could go continent to continent and probably find 100, 200 soulmates for you. So, yes, this could be my conspiracy theory. They've got odds on this. Travis Kelce, and they're favored to still be dating when they kick off 2024. First of all, she's got a track record of going through dudes like this. I don't see it.
Yes. Okay, so there really is a bet. There's some bet out there you can make of whether or not they will still be dating week 1 of 2024.
Week 1 of 2024.
They won't be dating week 1 of 2024.
I don't know if they'll be dating Christmas. I mean, look, and I think Taylor Swift I don't think she's attractive. She's cute. She's put together well. Money helps out with that. I took my kids to see her a couple of years ago in Atlanta. She puts on a hell of a show, 3 hours. She gets after it. But I think she's out of his league, man. I know he's a 6'5", maybe the greatest tight end in the history of the game, but she's out of his league.
This is beautiful. Yeah, just a meathead from Ohio. Ohio against the world, as Ryan Day said. And I guess we could throw Kelce. I know he was a Bearcat, but Ohio against the world. Lance against love. Not believing in Taylor and Kelce. And I'm kind of with you. I don't think it's sustainable, but can we just say the NFL wins? I mean, the NFL wins. Whether it's his jersey sales, whether it's the ratings, as you said, it's a populace. I know when I kicked over in 2020, okay, they didn't tell me there's nothing scripted. There's none of that nonsense. But when I kicked over from college football during the whole COVID nonsense in 2020, and I did those games, it was very clear to me, Lance, like, we're not about like hard fast. We don't need you having a hard fast opinion. We don't need your declarative statements. It's not about you. It is about the brand and how big and far and wide can we cast this net to bring in all the fans we can. And Mrs. Swift and all of her Swifties Miss Swift, not Mrs., is doing all of that and more because, as you said, the populace has just grown.
Okay, look, I know the money is too big, and I've heard about, this guy, they're worried about the integrity of the game. He's going to throw a game. Dude's making $35 million. There's no way he's going to throw a game. But I will say, watching Monday night and my Rams against the Bengals, the calls were so questionable. And, as a fan, you only get 17 of these games that you sit back and watch, and one game is massive. And the 2-2 out, the first touchdown, that was the difference of the game, 4 points. Yep. And not only that, the Logan Wilson interception that you could see the ball move. They didn't overturn that. Just seemed like some really questionable calls. Again, I'm not going to call it a conspiracy theory here, but that was a tough loss for the Rams.
It was, with a hobbled Burrow that you could tell was playing at what? 40%?
You think 70 with the arm. Okay, yeah, he couldn't move out of the pocket at all.
Could not move.
Boy, once Jamar chased him and Jamar got in rhythm, it was.
Yeah, over. The brain and arm were still 100. The rest of it looked like Marino at about 40, right?
Yeah, fair.
I remember visiting my brother down in Miami, speaking of South Beach, when he was backing up Marino, and it was so cool. I went in the locker room. I'm in college. I'm like, this is great. I remember looking at Dan Marino's shoe. and it looked like a WWF boot. First of all, like it went like up to my knee. It had like a spring in it because he had no Achilles, right? He torn his Achilles. One of his calves is like gone. So this thing's like spring loaded on one side to give him any juice. And what did Danny still do, man? He could still sit back there and sling it. He'd sling it. Burrow,
was he a nice guy when you met him?
Oh, Dan's great. Yeah, he and Damon have a tremendous wine called Passing Time. They've built an awesome winery, a top 100 cab in the world. Danny's
dude, I'm a huge cab guy. I mean, where can I get it? Can I get it at local wine and spirit shops?
I'll tell you this. I'll tell you right now. I don't know how we haven't gotten to this before.
Dude, I've said this before. So I probably indulge a little too much.
Okay.
I mean, our title sponsor.
Ian Fitzsimmons, is that back to your Bama days?
Yeah, Ian doesn't really do it as much anymore. I mean, he does a little. He'll dabble in it, but I still get after it pretty good. But I mean, our title sponsors are, AB, so Bud Light, Redmont Vodka, Dobell Tequila. But I've said this before, as much as I love my cold beer, my IPAs, I love my bourbons, if I could only have one alcohol moving forward, it is red wine, and specifically a good cab.
Well, if you like a big cab, that was his goal. And it was pretty neat to watch this. It's kind of fun today. We talked a lot of football, but now we're getting to love and wine. When Damon was playing with the Dolphins, it was Dan that said to him, like, what are you doing? You're drinking rum and Coke. Like, what are you, 12? And he's like, you've got some of the greatest wine in the world is grown where you were born. Damon was born in Yakima, Washington, on the eastern part of the state, on the eastern slope. And there is it's
Willamette?
It's called, Willamette's a little south. That's down in a little more in Oregon. This is called Red Mountain, and the Red Mountain appellation. And some of the best wines, there's the winery's escaping me, but they're 100-point cab. They're ridiculous. Quilceda Creek. If you look up Quilceda Creek, 100-point cab, time and time again, big time. And so Dan was like, A, turned Damon onto it, and then B, over the years, they, were like, man, what if one day? And then they got two other partners, and Damon spent years studying the business, because you know what he didn't want to be? One of those jokers that loses everything. And he didn't have Dan Marino's money, to play with. So it's like, I'm not losing it. And he worked and he cultivated relationships, and they got the best farmer, and they grew in the best part of the mountain, and they put together the best winemaker, and they bought the best barrels, and he middle managed it all. And they got a top 100 cab in the world over there at Passing Time. So I will have a Big Brother shoot you. Are you a little fruitier? They've got 3 appellations. I sound like a Passing Time marketer.
Oh, I like this.
Do you like the heavy? Like, do you want the robust?
Okay. Yeah, I like the robust. I mean, that's the way I roll. So, I don't do this night in and night out. I'm a $30 a bottle guy.
Yeah.
But like every now and then, once a month or once every couple of months, I'll get a bottle of Caymus or Silver Oak, and that's a good. And I try to tell people, and I don't know what the price point on this is. What's the price point on you guys?
Oh, that's a good question. I think those are going to be probably up over $100 now.
Okay. Yeah. But there is such a difference between a $30 bottle of wine and a $100 bottle of wine.
Yes.
And if you've got it, I say spend it. I mean, that's the way I am, but I would love to try this.
Oh, and you'll love the bottle, man. It's really, really cool. They've put the little laces on the top. It's
nice.
It's done. This was done as like a passion project early. Like,
hey, but your brother's one of those perfectionists.
Yes. And so are the partners. And it was like,
that's
hey,
good.
Let's just not lose anything in the wine business. And you can ask a lot of them that tried it. It's not an easy business, unbelievably competitive. Everybody and their mother think they can do it. And then you get into it, and all of a sudden it's turned from, hey, this was kind of a fun, maybe little family heirloom, to, wow, like this is taken off. So I will put you in touch, or I will get a bottle sent to you, and Passing Time, you'll get a kick out of the whole deal. It's done really, really well. You can go to their website too. It's pretty neat to see Dan and Damon tell their story of how it all came together. So
is that passingtime.com?
Passingtime.com, man. Passingtime.com.
Are you a wine guy at all?
Mildly. I have very few talents, Lance. I'm colorblind. I'm tone deaf. I've got little sense of smell. I've got a very weak palate. So yeah, other than trying to fool people like you for an hour talking, that's about all I can do now.
I'm going to let you roll because I know you're busy, but are you really colorblind?
Yeah. Yes.
Wait, so how did that work reading defense?
Well, there's always a white jersey and a dark jersey. Now, when they did the whole ridiculous, what do they call that? With the, on some of those Sunday nights or Monday nights where one team.
Oh yeah, the color flash.
There you go. Whatever it was.
Color
rush. That would have been a rush of problems, because I watched that, and in particular and we've got colorblind people, I'm sure they're listening right now going, oh yeah, that's me. I can't tell like green and blue or blue and purple, like those. it was the Bills and the Jets. I want to say green and blue, and the whole colorblind society rose up and said, no more color rush. We can't see it. It's not right.
Was that the reason they actually got rid of the color?
No.
I mean, hell, I wouldn't be surprised. But, I love when USC and UCLA play for the Victory Bell and they both wear the darks. I mean, would that have been a problem?
No, that's still a bit distinct enough. There really usually is enough contrast. Now, could I have used an excuse? Coach, I'm sorry, I'm colorblind. I mean, I thought I saw this color. What do you want me to do? It's a disability, a handicap of mine. They also, by the way, now have colorblind glasses. So if I promoted passing time today, next week on Unlocked, I will promote the colorblind sunglasses that are a game changer. But we can't do more than
that's fine, because we got to talk about
we got bookie.com for crying out loud.
mybookie.ag and lanceslock.com.
Right.
So final thing I'll ask you, so did it matter what color car you had, or were you like, I don't care, I just want this kind of car?
No, the wife has a say in that. Yeah.
Okay.
The wife would have a say. Like, could I go to the lot and they convinced me? No, you'd really like this really dark brown. It's beautiful and it's just some horrendous green. Yeah, they probably could have sold me if I didn't have my wonderful bride of 25 years.
Okay, where are you heading this weekend?
I got a fun one, man. Nebraska, one of my favorite places.
I've never been to Lincoln, man. I've heard it's just, the fans are the best, right?
You got to go. It is just, honestly, if we did the top 3 in the ACC, there's no way if I rank the top 3 places to do a game, that Nebraska's not on that list. And this isn't even like the 90s when they're national champs. This is through some tougher years and everything, but, it's 97,000. Lance, they all stay. It's one place that we don't really drive to the game. It's about a mile walk. So I make sure I pack my suit and I got it's going to be like 90 degrees and windy. It's going to be so weird and weirdly hot.
Jeff Sims starting for Nebraska this weekend?
Oh, Gus Johnson sure hopes not. Let's see, Lincoln. Yeah, bro, it's going to be 93 degrees.
Oh my
windy.
God. I've been bitching and complaining. I'm going to my first game of the year. I'm going Georgia Auburn this weekend. It's going to be 85 down there.
Yeah, that's hot.
I was like, why can't we have it like in the low 70s? I'm ready for college football.
For low 70s. Yeah,
weather.
Yeah, you got to get to Nebraska. Do it in your life, because you stay all the hotels. It's kind of the Sea of Red. You just all walk in, tens of thousands of people. It's 97,000. Unlike some of these that come in late or got to fill in. Like, nope, there's 90,000. Watching warmups. I mean, they are in. And with Michigan, the number 2 team, coming into town, and they don't blow people away. Right, they are one of the fewest plays. Their defense is 3rd in the country with fewest plays allowed. They average about 9 possessions a game. So this is not going to be 70-20. I sure hope not in any world. I think this will be a little more competitive, and it's a great environment. And Nebraska, while woeful on offense, they're stingy on defense, man. They play some good, hard, complicated defense.
I told you last question, I'll get you out of here, but we're both going to see potential train wrecks. Georgia's defense against Peyton Thorne or Robbie Ashford.
Yep.
And you're going to see Michigan's defense against Jeff Sims.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be long 3 hours.
We'll see. Maybe Mr. Harburg will get out there and run the option. We'll see. Or maybe Sims just flat out runs it every time. Just run it. If he just runs it 25 times and throws it 5, I think they've got probably a better chance.
Yeah, we'll see if he survives that. Okay, it's Unlocked with Fox's Brock Huard. Making sure you like and subscribe here on Disrupt the Media. Have a wonderful week. We'll see you next week.